Okay, here's 7.5. So we're going to do a few more examples on trig equations, and in these we are going to substitute in either a Pythagorean identity or another formula that we have. Okay, so let's look at our first example. We have 1 plus sine theta equals 2 cosine squared theta. Now, it should be, you know, it should be cause for concern that this equation has sine and cosine in it. Okay, so this is the one we're trying to solve. Well, when you see a sine or cosine squared, remember your Pythagorean identity. Okay, so sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So if I solved it for sine squared, I get this. And if I rearrange it and solve it for cosine squared, I get this. Okay, so I can substitute this in place of cosine squared, and then I would only have sine functions, trig functions, in my equation. So that's what I want to do. So I'm going to do 2 times 1 minus sine squared theta. Okay, so this is what I have now, and the cosine's gone. Right? I don't want the parentheses there, so I'm going to distribute that too. And then I want to bring everything over to the left-hand side and get it equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the 2, and I'm going to add the 2 sine squared. So I've got 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta. And when I subtracted the 2, I get minus 1. Okay, so I added this is positive. The sine theta was still positive, and I subtracted the 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And I put it in this order because that is going to be a quadratic. Okay, now if you can't see that it's a quadratic, once again, I can say, okay, let sine theta equal y, or x, whatever p or whatever letter you want it to be. So that's 2y squared plus y minus 1 equals 0. And I want to factor this thing. So I've got 2y and y. The only numbers that multiply together to give 1 are 1 and 1. I just got to get my signs correct. Okay. So once again, I'm going to check my inside and outside terms. My inside term is 1y. My outside term is 2y. And I want those to combine to give me a positive 1y. So that means this one needs to be positive. This one needs to be negative. Okay, so the positive needs to be here, the negative needs to be there. And I just check those signs just to make sure that I have that factored correctly, because it will ultimately affect my answer. Then each factor gets set equal to 0, and I solve for y. So I add the 1, divide by the 2, y is 1/2, subtract the 1, y is negative 1. And now I have to remember, I'm not solving for y, I'm trying to find sine. Sine theta is y. So I now replace that. So sine theta is 1/2, sine theta is negative 1. So where is theta 1/2? Well, it's at 30 degrees, or pi over 6, and 5 pi over 6, or 150. And where is sine theta negative 1? Well, it's only one angle where sine is negative 1, and that's at 3 pi over 2. Or you can say 270 degrees. I don't have a preference for your answer on that.